Hello and welcome back again, Coffee Beans. This is Agricultural Structures and Building Constructions. Definition of terms. C&D. Cage. An enclosure mounted on side rails of a fixed ladder are fastened to the structure wall to enclose the climbing space in order to safeguard persons climbing the ladder. Cantilever test. A load test arrangement for a diaphragm in which the diaphragm is supported along one edge and the shear load is applied at a corner of the opposite edge and in the direction parallel to the direction of the line of action of the supports. Case hardening. A condition of stress and set in dry lumber in which the outer layers are under compressive stress and the inner layers under tensile stress. Catwalk. A raised walkway which may be positioned horizontally or at an incline up to 15 degrees. CCA. Abbreviation for chromated copper arsenate. A common wood preservative. Ceiling stiffness. The stiffness of a horizontal diaphragm consisting of the ceiling of the building. Cement. A powder of alumina, silica, lime, iron oxide and magnesia burned together in a kiln and used as an ingredient of mortar or concrete. Centrifugal manure transfer pumps. A slurry and liquid manure transfer pump which moves manure by pressure generated through a rotary centrifugal impeller and housing. Centrifugal separators. A rapidly rotating device that uses centrifugal force to remove manure liquids from solids. Cesspool. A partially lined or unlined underground pit into which raw animal and/or household wastewater is discharged and from which liquid seeps into the surrounding soil. Chamber. A relatively large circular or ovoid pore with smooth walls and an outlet through channels or planar pores. Chain. Flighting feed handling system. An organized group of equipment for distributing feed using uniformly spaced crossbars connected together by chain or cable. Channel. A tubular-shaped pore. Sharpie test. It is the one which a specimen, supported at both ends as a simple beam, is broken by the impact of a falling pendulum. The energy absorbed in breaking the specimen is a measure of the impact strength of the metal. Chemical oxidation. Oxidation of organic substances without benefit of living organisms. Chipboard. Building board made from thin wood chips flakes glued and compressed together, usually available in 1.2 meters by 2.4 meters sheets less than 254 millimeters thick. Chlorination. The application of chlorine to water, sewage, or industrial waste. Generally disinfect, to oxidize, or to improve settling. Chlorine residual. The concentration of chlorine remaining in water, sewage, or industrial wastewater following chlorination. Cord. The singular braces in a truss. Chromated copper arsenate. CCA. A wood preservative which provides long-lasting decay and termite resistance. Rate of corrosion of fasteners or metal driven into the salt-based form may be increased under damp conditions. Chute. The narrowed portion of the livestock handling treating system where livestock move in single file. Chute ladder. A series of uniformly spaced individual steps or rungs, which may or may not have a side rail relationship, incorporated into a silo door assembly, serving the purpose of hinging and/or latching and/or removing said silo doors assembly. Clamp-on meter. An ammeter used to measure current without physically interrupting the circuit. Cleanout. Plumbing fitting or drain with a removable plug for access to cleaning a container or unplugging a pipe. Clean runoff. Runoff not contaminated with manure such as runoff from roofs, grassed areas, drives and other area which are not animal alleys. Clear span roof construction. A building roof design without interior support posts. Closed tank. A completely closed structure, usually a horizontal cylinder or modified cylinder. Coagulation. In water and wastewater treatment. The aggregation of colloidal, finely divided suspended matter and/or bacterial cells by addition of a flock-forming chemical or by biological process. Coarse aggregates, such as crushed stone, crushed gravel or natural gravel with particles retained on a 5 mm sieve. Cocktail stair is a winding staircase. Cold barn. Naturally ventilated barn, usually constructed with no or minimum insulation. No supplemental heat is provided and inside temperature varies with outside temperature. Cold slaughter refers to slaughtering an animal which is already dead of some causes prior to slaughter. Collapse. A distortion of lumber with corrugated appearance on the wider face due to excessive shrinkage. Collars. Components that increase the bearing area of portions of the post foundation, and thus increase lateral or vertical resistance. Collecting tank. Holding tank. Chamber where manure and water are collected, stored and separated from heavy and non-biodegradable materials before feeding them into the digester. Colloidal matter. Finely dividing solids which will not settle but may be removed by coagulation or biochemical action or membrane filtration. Column is an element used primarily to support axial compressive loads and with a height of at least 3 times its least lateral dimension. Comfort air conditioning is the process of treating air to control simultaneously its temperature, humidity, cleanliness, and distribution to meet the comfort requirements of the occupants of the conditioned space. Comfort stall. Stall with a chain attached to an anchor in the cub separating the manger from the stall. Compaction load. The load transferred through the silage onto the silo wall from the compaction equipment operating on the surface to the silage. Compression set. Occurs during compression. That tends to give the wood a smaller than normal dimension after drying. Usually found in the interior of wood items during the first stage of drying, but sometimes in the outer layers after over-conditioning or rewetting. Also caused by external restraint during rewetting of dried wood. Compression wood. Abnormal wood formed on the lower side of branches and inclined trunks of softwood trees. It has relatively wide, eccentric growth rings with little or no demarcation between springwood and summerwood and more than normal amounts of summerwood. Concentrated farmstead. In this type, all structures are in close proximity. In many instances, will all or most of the buildings joined together are connected by sheds or covered walks. Concentrated load is a load applied at a point or along a line. Concrete is hardened structure consisting of a mixture of cement, sand, and gravel or broken stone. Concrete block, a solid or hollow block of precast concrete. Concrete hollow blocks, CHB, are most widely used masonry material for all types of construction walls. Partitions, dividers, fences, etc. Concrete masonry, building units composed of hollow blocks. Bricks are the laid by masons. Concrete slab, a flat reinforced concrete structural member, relatively sizable in length and width, but shallow in depth, used for floors, roofs, and bridge decks. Concrete steel, steel used in reinforced concrete, which should comply with standard specifications for pre-stressed concrete. Confinement, holding livestock in a restricted area on and under footing other than soil. Constrained case, the post rotates about a rigid support and is laterally supported by reactive soil pressure on one side of the post. Constructed wetland, a man-made aquatic ecosystem containing emergent hydrophytic vegetation, designed and managed to treat wastewater. Controlled atmosphere storage, storage in an artificial atmosphere in which the proportion of carbon dioxide and/or oxygen is precisely controlled. Controlled or warm environment, insulated livestock housing where temperature, humidity, lighting, air movement, radiation, etc., are controlled by appropriate construction and environmental modifications. Cord, a stack of wood that has a gross volume of 128 cubic feet. A standard cord measures 4 feet by 4 feet by 8 feet. Core wall, masonry, sheet pilling, concrete, or compacted earth placed near the center of a dam or embankment in the form of a wall to reduce percolation. Corral, refers to holding and handling facility for livestock, usually adjacent to pasture, feedlot or livestock barn. Corrugated GI sheet, is widely used for roofing and siding material. Has a standard width of 80 centimeters with varying length of 1.5 meters to 3.6 meters at an interval of 30 centimeters. Corrugated plastic tubing, extruded plastic tubing with a corrugated wall and when perforated, used for subsurface drains. Creep, enclosure for small livestock which excludes larger livestock and in which feed is sometimes provided. Creep area, a place for piglets inside the farrowing pen. Creep distance, refers to the longitudinal length along the outer surface of a pipe or conduit plus the length along antispy collars within an earth embankment. Crook, a distortion of a board in which the edges deviate from a straight line from end to end of a board. Crowding gate, movable gate used to press livestock towards a treatment. Milking, or handling area. Crowding pen, pen in which livestock are confined closely by crowding gate prior to treatment. Milking, shearing, etc. Cup, a distortion of a board in which there is deviation from flatness across the width of the board. Curtain wall ventilation, curtain are woven or solid fabric placed over a wall opening and adjusted up and down with a cable and winch arrangement. To vary the ventilation in a livestock barn. Cutting, refers to a portion of a board or plank that would be obtained by cross-cutting. Ripping, or both. Cylinder, treating, a mild steel tank, commonly horizontal, with door art one or both ends, in which wood is placed for treatment, usually by a pressure process with a preservative, fire retardant or other material. Cylindrical tanks, this is especially adaptable to structures in which the walls are subjected to outward lateral pressure due to contained liquid or semi-liquid material. The silo, water tanks and the circular grain bin are the common examples. Dead load, gravitational force due to mass of all material used in the building construction. Deck, a raised floor within or extending outside a building. Deoxygenation, the depletion of the dissolved oxygen in a liquid, through the biochemical oxidation of organic matter present or by chemical addition. Detention pen, separate compartment in the lairage used to confine sick or suspected animals. Detention pond, an earthen structure constructed to store runoff water and other wastewater until such time as the liquid may be recycled onto land. Detention time, the time wastes are subjected to stabilization process are held in storage. Dewatered sewage sludge, a sewage sludge with a total solid content of 6% or greater that can be transported and handled as a solid material, usually done by belt press. Screw press. Vacuum filtration or centrifuge. Diaphragm. A structural assembly, including the timber framing, truss cords and purlins. Metal cladding. Fasteners. And fastening patterns capable of transferring in plane shear forces through the cladding and framing members. Diaphragm design. The design of a post frame, including the roof truss, sidewall post, end walls, shear connectors, cord splices and ground anchorages, in which the diaphragm strength diaphragm. Digester. Any water and airtight container designed for the process of anaerobic microbiological degradation of organic matter into which the slurry is introduced for digestion and methanization. Digestion. The microbial decomposition of organic matter under saturated conditions resulting in sludge that is a humus-like mass and somewhat stable. Usually refers to the breakdown of organic matter in a liquid, through the biochemical oxidation of organic matter in water solution or suspension into simpler or more biologically stable compounds. Or both. Displacement manure pumps. A positive displacement transfer device which utilizes a variety of methods to move primarily semi-solid manure through a pipeline. Distal. The terminal end farthest from the base. Distributed type farmstead. This is the most common type of farmstead where buildings are located sufficiently far apart to allow adequate room for road drives and yards. Reasonable fire safety and sanitation, yet sufficiently close together to be effective for farm operation. Distributed load is a load spread over a large area. Distribution duct. Inflatable tube or rigid duct through which ventilation air is distributed in the building. Drip cooler. Storage structure with continuously weeded walls. Drum composting system. Enclosed cylindrical vessel which slowly rotates for a set period of time to break up and decompose material. Ductility. Property that enables a material to be bent, drawn or stretched, and formed. Dust-proof. Constructed or protected so that dust will not interfere with its successful operation. Dust-tight. Constructed so that dust will not enter the enclosing case. Hope it helps. Thank you again for listening. Please like, subscribe and comment your suggestion on topics you want to hear. Links of previous topics are stated in the description box below. See you in the next part. Bye. Rar.